other extended family makes the what? Extended family. So this extended family, in addition to the core family, father, mother, and children, includes dependents, includes our aunties, our uncles, our cousins, our nieces, our nephews, our granddads, our grandmas, and the rest. This, that's what makes the family tree at the end of the day. It keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. That's what actually gives birth to generations. So everybody is traceable to a family tree. That's why you see some people after many years, they don't know their root, but through DNA, they are able to trace back their root. They now know their family tree, where they are from, So it's very important. So I've been able to tell you about what a core family is and an extended family. What are the expectations from a family? Now you are in a family. What are the expectations? There's an expectation from either a father, a mother, or children or dependents in a family. And most of the time, this expectation should be able to promote love, be able to promote support for one another, encouragement for one another, and should be able to promote stability of one another, of the family, stability of the family, very important. A family cannot just be all over the place. They have to be stable. So, each member should be respected, should be understood, and should be valued. Very important. You are in a family not to be abused. You are in a family not to be taken advantage of. You are in a family to be valued. You are in a family to be supported to fulfill purpose and destiny. You are in a family to achieve goals. You are in a family to build that family. So if a family is coming down, you don't just blame any other person, but you blame yourself. Because if I make my mind, if I purport in my mind to make this family stable, and you do that, is that father, mother, or children, then that family can never be pulled down. So we must take responsibility. The Lord will help us. So when you are in a family, it should ultimately lead to growth. That family should be able to expand, increase, enlarge. And the well-being of that family, the emotional well-being, psychological well-being, physical well-being, financial well-being, educational well-being, marital well-being, or spiritual well-being, we must be able to take responsibility for them. We must be able to promote quality of life. We must be able to promote our well-being and the well-being of other members of the family. And when we do that in the individual families, we find out that we are building a community, a society, a nation that is peaceful, that is safe, and that is happy. So in all of this, the bottom line is it must drive us to fulfill purpose. Every entity in the family has a responsibility, true. If a family member for any circumstance or reason is absent, it does not stop it from being a family. For instance, husband and wife, they've come together, they've married, but they don't have biological children of their own that they've given birth to. It doesn't stop it from being a family. It's still a family. It's still a core family. For instance, maybe death happened to any member of the family. It still makes it a family. Sometimes it can be, a divorce. Maybe divorce, and so maybe the woman has the children all to herself and the rest. It's still a family. Or the man has the children to himself, is still a family. So the absence of one member of the family doesn't reduce it from being a family. You are still expected to continue to do what you are supposed to do in the family, so as to build it, to preserve it, and to nourish it. So every family must learn to mind their affairs, must fend for their family, must build their family, must provide for their family, must pray. If you are the prayerful type, for their family, must show love for their family, must be a team player in the family. Everybody in the family have their roles to play. The father has his role to play. The mother has a role to play. The children also have their role to play. That is why we must not be hasty in leaving the home. Because when you leave your own role, it becomes vacant. And then what happens? So it's a teamwork. And I pray God will help us not to leave our duty post. It is our first duty post when it comes to marriage. God has placed you in that family for a reason, for a purpose. Please, if you want to phone in or make any constructive suggestion, feel free. Or you want to ask questions, feel free to call this number 079 20 026 407. I called the number again. 07920 026 407. Feel free to call the number. Okay, let's make some progress. What are values? I've been able to define family. I've been able to tell you the expectation of family, So let's look at what is a value. We are talking about family values. I've defined family. Let's try and define values. Say values are moral standards, or moral ethics, or moral codes, or moral principles or discipline of a family, which they uphold in terms of behavior, attitude, and conduct. So these are moral standards that the family uphold in order to build their what? Behavior, in order to guide their attitude, in order to for them to be comported or conduct themselves anywhere they find themselves. So these are values. Values can also be said to be something you consider of high importance. You consider it as of high importance or benefit, or something you consider relevant. It is therefore to be cherished, treasured, esteemed, regarded, and appreciated. Wow. So as I'm talking, I want us to ponder, I want us to think and reflect. Is this the situation in my family? Is this the situation in my home? If not, then how can I start putting it in place? What can I do to uphold the value of this family? Or you don't even know the value. If you don't know the value, you need to start thinking and then put some things in place as values. Very important, because they help to guide and build the home. And who makes the home? The father, the mother, the children. Core home, nuclear home, before we start talking about the extended families. So, it says, value are also some things you consider of high importance, high benefit, relevant. Those things you consider as important, as beneficial, as relevant. It is therefore to be cherished, treasured, esteemed, regarded, and appreciated, as I said before. Another school of thought says values are beliefs that make people to act in a certain way. True. Almost all the time, these values are right and could be traceable to a particular culture. These values are right and could be traceable to a particular culture. That culture may be infinitesimal culture, or maybe culture in, enlarged culture. It's like you say, the Africans. Africa is big, it's enlarged. But as big as Africa is, they have their culture, generalized culture. Then it can be tapered down or extrapolated down to little communities, to little families, to extended families, and then to core families. We'll see some of them as we go on. So sometimes these values can be traceable to your culture. They can be traceable to your family tree. They can be traceable to your extended family. So we'll see some of those values. Values can be preserved or destroyed. If you do not preserve your values, then they will get destroyed. So for them not to be destroyed, they have to be sustained. They have to be sustained and passed down to generations. And you will ask, how can I pass it down to generation? We'll see how we can pass it down to generation briefly as we go on. Sometimes relocation makes people destroy or forget about their values. True. Like some people, maybe you're an African, you're now relocated to a British environment. Sometimes you drop your values and you pick up those British values. But the right thing is for you to find a way to marry them together so that you not forget your culture. You not forget your origin. You not forget your beliefs. Very important. It's like, for instance, in the British culture, they believe so much in home insurance, so that if in the case of theft, burglary, or fire, you can be compensated adequately. But in African culture, they may not prioritize insurance as one of their values. It doesn't mean that the British people are right or the African people are wrong. No. It depends on what you prioritize, what you want to take up as a value. So there's really no right or wrong in the value. I'll tell you as we go on what values must do. We must be able to assess. And if you see that this value is not adding benefit to you, it's not beneficial, it's not fair to all concerned, then you can drop it and pick up another value that is good. Okay. So relocation, as I said, can make some people forget about their values. Some values are speaking your language, your local dialect. You know, when you relocate, sometimes the ability to be able to make your children to speak your language may become very slim unless you make conscious effort to be able to imbibe or teach your children your local dialect. So these are some values that we lost somehow along the way. Traditional dances. In as much as you say it's dance, dancing is a form of relaxation. Dancing can be a form of communication. Dancing can be a form of pleasure. There are so many benefits to dancing. You know, it can help you forget about your sorrow. Like some people say dance away your sorrow. So dances are very important. So you know there are dances that the British people dance. Like for instance, you have the rock and roll. You have the salsa and all the rest, you know. Same way with African culture, they have their own traditional dances. You have the Atilogu dancers. You have the Edo dancers. You have the Atilogu dancers. You have, there are so many dances. You have the Yoruba dancers. Very beautiful, culturally or otherwise. But sometimes when we relocate, these are some of the things we lost along the way. But if you are somebody that cherishes value, you will not want to lose it. You want to preserve it. Story times. How many of us did tell stories? Many years ago, I remember we used to have story times, moonlight. During the moonlight, you go out, you all sit down, and an elderly person will come and tell you stories. And as they are telling you stories, they are telling you about your history. They are telling you about your origin. They are telling you about the likes and dislikes of your culture, of your family, of your origin. They are telling you how your kingdom came into being. They are telling you how you moved maybe from slave trade into freedom. You know, all these things you learn. You are empowered. That awareness is there, created during times of storytelling. You know, your family lineage. They tell you about your family lineage, your family heritage. They tell you all these things. Tell you about your family tree. And then they also teach you how to cook. But do we still preserve those values today? Or we have just dumped them along the way and picked up some other foreign values? Preservation of values includes documentation. Learn to document. Put it down in writing. Your memory may fail you. What you say, people may forget. But when you document it down, even after you, they are still there. And they are, you know, reachable, accessible, and where available. Very important. You know, it can be supported. Family value can be supported in preserving family values. That's what I'm talking about. Can be supported by research, by education. Educate the people. Create awareness. Do research. Keep these things in archives that will be accessible to people, so that years after they can still access it, they can still, you know, empower themselves with it, and be able to pass it down generations. Have focus groups or support groups that will promote culture, very important. Interview the elders in the community. They say what the old man sees sitting down, the young man may never see it standing up. So you've got to learn from the old man. And the old man is boast is not in what he has acquired physically or financially, but the wisdom he has. The knowledge is embedded with. Let's start from it. Okay. Visiting museums and going for tourism. These are things we can do to preserve our values and preserve our culture. Very important. Reading books, literatures, poems can help us to know and empower ourselves with our values and with our culture. Very important. It says, when you are preserving your culture or value, what happens? You are able to impact knowledge to other people. And the next generation will be prepared, will be empowered. We also pass it on to the next generation like that, and it won't die. Culture is the entire way family of a group, is the entire way of life of what? A group of people. That's culture. And what builds this culture? Values. What binds us together? What makes us to uphold a particular culture? The value we share. Common values. So culture is the entire way of life of a group of people. Of a group of people. 4. Values are not the same for all. True. Values are not the same for all. Some family may value education. Some family may not value education. It doesn't mean whether you are educated or you are not educated, you won't reach the pinnacle of life. No. Or you won't be reckoned with. No. It depends on where your area of concentration is, what you want to focus on. There's a particular tribe in Nigeria. Sorry, I have to use this because I'm in Nigeria. In Nigeria, where if you do not become a doctor and a professor, you are not reckoned with. It's good. It's a family. It's a value. They value education to the last. There's another family or another cultural group of people that don't believe in education. Just acquire skills. And then you are able to achieve, you are able to do what you want to do. Either way is fine. There's no right or wrong value. It just depends on what you want to prioritize in your family. Okay. Values can be modified. True. Values can be modified. After some time, you may find that this particular value I hold on to is not really beneficial. Things have changed. I need to modify it. I need to change it. It's allowed. It's like many years ago, maybe, by virtue of the fact that I'm a Christian, there were some things we didn't used to teach in the church. But now they've become eminent. They've become important for us to be teaching them in the church. So things are changing. So also you must be able to change with the times. But as I said before, every value you want to promote, every value you want to hold on to must be what? Beneficial. Must be fair to all concerned. And must be safe. The most important one to me is for safety. You can't tell me that your value is to go and be bombing people. That's not a good value. So every value you hold on to must be safe, must promote safety, very important, must be fair to all concerned. It shouldn't be toxic to people around you. That's not a good value if it is toxic. If it's hazardous to people around you, there's not a good value. Then you need to modify such a value. For instance, you want to say, okay, my value is to go and be for burglary, to go and burgle people's houses. That's not a good value. Or to be a thief. That's not a good value. So there are values, or compulsive liar. That's not a good value. So these are things we must check. This value I'm holding on to, is it beneficial to me, to my immediate family, and to others around me? Is it going to constitute any harm to people? Is it fair? Is it safe? The moment you're able to answer these questions in the affirmative, then write on. Okay. So depending on circumstances and situations, you could modify or change your value. It's allowed. Examples of common values. Let's look at some examples of common values. Common values such as humility. These, I know Africans, they identify with this value a lot. Humility, you must be humble, no matter what you think you have achieved in life. That uneducated man, that uneducated woman you are looking down on, their children may have, made it far, far. You never know. So, humility, humble yourself. No matter what you have achieved in life, no matter where you have reached in life, no matter your connection, your qualification, your eloquence, whatever, be humble. And when you are humble, you attain greater heights. Another value I know people, identify with a lot is respect. Respect for one another. It's not because I'm senior to you, you should respect me. No, respect is reciprocal. There's nothing wrong with me respecting you, even though I'm senior to you. And some people will tell you respect is earned. Don't behave unsimilarly and expect people to respect you. Don't be arrogant and expect people to respect you. So respect is a value that I know most cultures identify with. Honesty. Be honest. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no. That's a very good value. In my family, we uphold that a lot. Honesty. I remember many years ago, my father would tell you, we don't have money in this family, but we have a name to protect. Don't soil the name of this family. And anywhere you go to, that thing keeps ringing in your head. I must not soil the name of my family. It's a good value. Honesty. Contentment. Be contented. If you have to, be contented with the 2 you have and thank God for it. Some other person may have 8, some other person may have 20. It's fine. Don't go and be conversations and start thinking of how to scam the person that has more than you. That little you have, if it comes with peace, is better than somebody that have 20 without peace. So contentment is very important. Integrity. Are you credible? Are you reliable? When you say you are going to this place, do you really go there? Or your integrity is at stake? You have opportunity to work on it to change. Be credible. Be reliable. These 2 qualities makes you to have integrity. It's very important, especially as a father, as a mother. Your children are watching. When you are not a man of your words, they start to doubt your integrity. Daddy said this yesterday. He's saying this today. They start to question, they start to look. I pray for us that we will have integrity before our children, before our community, before our nation, before our organizations. Be polite. These are also another value that people identify with. Politeness. Be polite. Be approachable. Know how to talk to people. Know how to approach people. Know how to entreat other people. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Speak to people the way you want to be spoken to. Very important. Like I said before, education. Some people identify with education as an important value. Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. Punctuality. Maybe in your place of work, are you punctual? When it comes to timekeeping, can people trust you? Or you are the type that use African time to justify your lateness all the time? That's not good enough. The British people I know are very punctual. They keep to time. If a program is going to start at 4 o'clock, 10, 20 minutes, 15 minutes before 4 o'clock, they are there. But African man will come 4:30. Sorry for the Africans in the house. Not all Africans, some. I think I'm sometimes guilty of that too. I'm working on my timekeeping. Let's work on timekeeping. Very important. Some people, their value may be to help others, to support others. That's why I see them, they volunteer. They want to support other people. They want to put smiles on the faces of other people, which is good. Very good. You know, others may be to be confident. Anything you are saying, say it confidently. Know what you are saying. Know what you are doing, which is good. You know. Have self-control. Have self-control. You go to a pub. You know the number of drink you can take. Then you now go above it. And then you want to start to sing and misbehave, fall here and there. That's not a good one. You are disgracing the family you are from. And then they will say, you have not represented this family properly. Let's have self-control. Let's check everything we want to do. What about cleanliness? Some people hold cleanliness to a very, very high esteem. So if you have somebody that holds cleanliness as a value, and you are married to such person, you must be ready to adapt. You must be ready to bend. You must be ready to pick up that value for that home to stand. Because they say cleanliness is next to godliness. So I don't promote dirtiness. It's not good in any way. And when you are clean, infections will be far away from you. And when infections are far away from you, a lot of diseases will be far away from you. So some scholars say values can be categorized. I'll quickly run through this. Some scholars say values can be categorized. True. And they categorize them into 6 categories. I've mentioned some of these ones before, so I'll just run through them. They classify them into spiritual values, social values, civic values, character values, work values, and home values. Under spiritual values, they put love, stewardship, service, call to service, stewardship. How do you serve? Spiritual values, tithes, they promote tithing. It's only in church I know where they promote tithing. I don't think other organizations, I don't know, I stand to be corrected. But these are values, you know, like tithing, you won't see it in a social gathering, civic value, character value, or work value, or even home value. No. So it's spiritual. Dedication. There's a call for dedication, you know, under the spiritual value. What about social values? When you're talking about social values, you're talking about respect, politeness, acceptance, empathy. Very important. What about civic values? When you're looking at civic values, you're talking about freedom. Freedom to vote, freedom to speak, freedom to know, freedom of information. Very important. You want to know your rights. You want to know your limits. All these are classified under civic values. And then you want to talk about character values. What about character values? You want to talk about honesty. Those values that build your behavior, that build your attitude, that build your conduct. So you want to talk about honesty, courage, integrity, and most of the other ones I previously mentioned. What about work value? Work values include, like I said before, punctuality, education, teamwork, acquiring skills, training. All these are under work values. Home value. What about home value? When you're looking at home value, you're talking about sharing. How do you share with your other siblings? How do you share with your wife? How do you share with your children? Or you are very possessive. Everything you get, you hide it. You don't allow your wife to know. You don't allow your children to know. That is not right. So in home value, you are talking about sharing. You are talking about having quality time, leisure, going on holiday. Doesn't have to be too far, according to your capacity and ability. Home value. We are talking about what? Forgiveness. Very important. As long as we live together, we are two different entities. There will be room to step on each other's toes, but the grace to forgive one another matters a lot. So forgiveness, very important. Tolerability. How do you tolerate one another? Are you patient with one another? Do you see yourself as being advantaged, and my advantage I will use to better the others in my home? Most of these things we started from the home before we can take it out to the community, to the society, and to the larger world. So very important. If you are not patient in the home, you are not tolerant in the home, you don't forgive in the home, you don't know how to share in the home and the rest, it will be difficult for you to practice it outside the home. That's why they say charity begins at home. Very important. Let's try and start in the home. And when we start in the home, to take it to the larger population will become easy peasy. So as I said before, values are not the same for all. It can be personal value, family value, organizational values, and the rest. Either way, value must be what? Beneficial. I said it before. Must be fair and must be safe. Any value that is not safe, that threatens people's peace, that threatens people's safety, is not a value. Africans cherish their culture because it is important to the preservation and well-being of Africans. Now I said it, why do Africans cherish their culture or their value? They do because it is important to what? The preservation and well-being of Africans and their culture. They want to hold on to their culture. They don't want to let it go. It has come over generations and it has not been a threat to humanity. It has been fair to all concerned. It has been beneficial to them and their descendants. Therefore, they cherish it, they keep it, which is good. Okay. Why do they do that? They do it for the purpose of sense of belonging. I want to be identified with my culture. I'm an African. I want to have a sense of belonging. The British say I'm a British. He wants to have a sense of belonging. The Asian will say, I'm an Asian. He wants to have a sense of belonging. Very important. And respect, a sense of belonging and respect. And who do we respect? As I said before, one another, the elders, our authority, the government. Through it, we want to promote unity and patriotism. Want to be a good citizen, a good representative of your roots, of your culture, of your race, of your descent. That's why you want to preserve it. Very important. So let's look at some quotes. Let's quickly look at some quotes about value. This first one says, the value of life lies not in the length of the days, but in the use we make of them. That is it. The value of life does not depend on the number of days. You can be 120 years and live a wasted life and live a life that has no value, a life that cannot be identified with. And you can live only 40, 50 years and make so much impact. Which one do you prefer? So that's what it's telling us there. Not how long, but how well. And I pray that each and every one of us listening to today's session, we make up our mind, we purport in our mind to live well all the way. The second one says, I think this is by Miles Muro. He says, the value of life is not in its duration, okay, but in its donation. You are not important because of how long you live. You are important because of how effective you have lived. I really like that. The value of life is not in its duration. Maybe you live for 40 years, you live for 100 years, you live for 120, 150 years. It's fine. But now it's not the value. But what makes your life valuable is what you did, the lives you touched, the impact you made. How many people were able to rub on you? Not ROB, but ROUB. Rub from your eloquence, rub from your intelligence, rub from your qualities, rub from the good things you can do for your society. So it's not in its duration, but in its donation. How many lives were you able to touch? How many less privileged were you able to put smiles on their faces? How many widows did you touch? And what did you do for your community? What did you do for your profession? What did you do for your government? What did you do for your both your core and extended family? What did you do for your society? What did you do for your village? What did you do for your town? What did you do to add value to humanity? Matters a lot. So let's make conscious effort to make impact to our lives, our homes, our families, core and extended family, and to others at large. Let's affect people positively. Let's rub on other people and let other people rub on us. When they see the good that's emanating from you, they want to rub from it. Let's add value positively, not negatively. If somebody is telling you to go and do something negative, it's not fair, it's not beneficial, it's not safe, disease from that person. Run away from that person. Stay away from that person. Values are like fingerprints, another said. You leave them all over everything you do, which is true. Sometimes you may have passed through an organization and then years after they are looking for somebody to be appointed, to be recommended and the rest. And they remember, oh, I want to recommend that person that passed here or this man, this woman. Why? Because it's an honest person. It's a man or woman of integrity. I can vouch for him anytime, any day. You see? Those are your fingerprints that you have left. So what type of fingerprint are you leaving that you remembered for? Is it positive or negative? If it's negative, then you have time to start to change them to positive. Because they say when there's life, there is hope. So, values are like fingerprints. You leave them all over everything you do. And then last but not the least says, we are shaped by our moral values. We are shaped by our moral values. Very correct. We are shaped by our moral values. So the values you put, you imbibe, you take on board, either as an individual, as a family, personally, or whatever, ends up shaping you. If you are honest, if you take up value of honesty, and you are honest, you display it, then anywhere you go, people will say that man is an honest man. See, that value has shaped you. If you are somebody that have self-control, the same thing. If you are somebody that can be relied upon, the same thing. Somebody that has integrity, the same thing. Somebody that is polite, the same thing. Respectful, humble, all these are things that shape our lives. So as a father, as a mother, what are the values you have in your home? How often do you remind your children? How often do you talk to them? You have heard how we can preserve these values. I've enumerated them. How we can preserve them can be by word of mouth. Tell people, document it, go for tourism, go to museums, know your history, know your culture, preserve the culture. Teach your children how to speak their language. Teach them how to do your traditional dance. Teach them how to tell them stories so that they too can tell their children. Document as many as you can document. Refer them to appropriate places where they can read about their history, their culture. So one of the most important benefits of preserving your value or your culture is it will help guide and shape you. Shape you in terms of your purpose in life. You will fulfill purpose, your God-given purpose. You will fulfill it. You know, it will help to shape your personality. To also help you to achieve your ultimate goals in life, to help you to achieve your ultimate goals in life, and you will be a successful man, a man or a woman to be emulated, to be identified with. So please let us continue to cherish our family values. Let's continue to do what we are supposed to do as parents, as children, and be a role model to your children. When your children see that, yes, you are upholding these values and these values are beneficial, they are safe, they are fair, they will imbibe those values. And then if you are a faith person, pray. There's nothing impossible. There's this popular saying that says, what God cannot do does not exist. Therefore, teach them. There's no child that is born to be bad. No. Some people will tell you society or whatever situations made them to become bad. So before those society and situations grab them, make sure you have built them so that when those winds and storm comes, it will not take them. They will be able to withstand it. They will pass through it and they will stand and stand tall. I pray this will be our portion, that we will stand and stand tall all the way. Thank you so much for listening. We have now come to the end of today's section. Thank you. Please stay tuned. Next week I will come your way. I remain your hostess, Charlotte Adeniregun. Will be drawing the curtain at this particular point. God bless you. I want to appreciate all our producers. To appreciate our Councillor Buki Okunade. God bless you, ma. Our producers, Mr. Mike Junior, Mr. Kazim, Ayo, and the rest. Mr. Daudu, thank you for the production. I really appreciate you, and kudos to all of you. God bless you. Until I come your way again, stay tuned, stay blessed. I love you. Bye, everyone. Bye.